All right, so you've spent decades mastering your craft. You're ready to launch your second act, to step into consulting and share all that hard-won expertise. But let's be honest, there's one simple question that can stop even the most seasoned professional dead in their tracks.
You know the one. A potential client looks you in the eye and asks, "So, what's your rate?" And boom, just like that, panic sets in. You got a lifetime of experience, right? But suddenly you have no clue what it's worth per hour. So you take a guess. You throw a number out there hoping you don't sound too high or maybe even worse, too low. And right there, that single moment is where most new consultants make their biggest and most costly financial mistake. And I mean, it's a huge mistake. We're talking about leaving 30, even 40% of your potential income just sitting on the table. And why? Well, it's because you're guessing instead of calculating. So in this explainer, we are going to fix that. We're going to replace that guesswork with a proven, CFO-approved formula so you can answer that question with absolute, unshakable confidence. So here's our playbook for today. First, we're going to dismantle the old, broken formula that most people use. Then, we'll walk through a really powerful 3-step calculation to find your real rate. And to wrap it up, we'll cover the specific financial stuff every consultant over 55 really needs to know. All right, first up, the old formula's failure. Let's start by just tearing down the biggest myth in consulting pricing. You know, a lot of new consultants, they do this one thing. They take their old annual salary and they just divide it by 2,080. That's the standard number of work hours in a year. Look, this is an absolute recipe for failure, and I'm going to show you exactly why. See, the reality of being a consultant, it's not billing 40 hours a week. That's just not how it works. A huge chunk of your time, we're talking half of it, maybe more, is spent on stuff you can't bill for, but you have to do. You know, finding new clients, all the admin, sending invoices, just running the business. So in the real world, you're probably only going to bill about 1,000, maybe 1,200 hours a year, not 2,080. And if you use that wrong number, well, you've basically cut your effective rate in half before you've even started. And that's not even the whole story. Remember that cushy corporate benefits package you had? That was worth an extra 30 or 40% on top of your salary. Well, guess what? Now you are the employer. You're paying both halves of the self-employment tax, you're funding your own health insurance and your own retirement, and there's no company match coming to save you. And yep, you're buying your own liability insurance, your own software, all of it. That old salary formula, it just completely ignores these massive costs, and that puts you in a really deep financial hole from day one. Okay, so now we know what not to do. Let's build the right foundation. This brings us to step 1, your baseline rate. Now, listen, this isn't your goal rate. Think of this as your floor. It's the absolute non-negotiable minimum you can charge to run a sustainable business without, having to dip into your retirement savings. This is the math that protects you. And here it is, the new formula. It looks simple, but trust me, it is powerful. You start with your target annual income, so what you want to replace from your old salary. You multiply that by 1.5. Now that 1.5 multiplier, that's the magic right there. It's crucial. It covers that 30% in hidden costs we just talked about, and it builds in a healthy 20% profit margin for you. Then you just divide all of that by 1,000 billable hours, a realistic, conservative number for actual paid work. Okay, let's make this real with an example. Let's say you were a marketing director earning $120,000 a year. Step 1, you take that 120 grand and multiply it by 1.5. That gets you to $180,000. That's the total revenue your new business needs to bring in. Step 2, divide that by your 1,000 billable hours. And what's the result? $180 per hour. Now, here's the crucial point. This is not a guess. This is your calculated walk-away price. If you charge anything less than this, you are literally subsidizing your client's business with your own money. Now, that baseline rate we just calculated, that's the science. But pricing, well, that's also an art. So step 2 is all about positioning your rate based on the incredible value of your experience. See, your baseline is what you need, but the market will often pay so much more because clients aren't just buying your time, they are buying your decades of wisdom. And please don't let anyone tell you that you're too old to start something new. That is just nonsense. In fact, research from MIT Sloan proves the exact opposite. Your age and your experience, those are your greatest competitive advantages. You have something absolutely priceless. It's called pattern recognition. You've seen it all before. You know what works, what doesn't. You've navigated crises, and you've solved complex problems that someone just can't Google an answer for. That is what clients are paying a premium for.
A huge part of this is understanding that you don't get paid for your credentials. You get paid for the size of the problem you solve. Just look at this example. You have a bookkeeping consultant and a cash flow crisis consultant. Both might have a finance background, sure, but one is solving an administrative headache, organizing receipts. The other is literally saving a company from going bankrupt. The scale of the problem is just worlds apart, and so is the rate. So you need to ask yourself this. What's the financial impact, the real cost, if my client doesn't solve this problem? Your rate should be a tiny fraction of that number.
Okay, so you've got your baseline rate. You've researched your market to set a target rate. So now what? Well, now you test it. Step 3 is about taking your price and treating it like a hypothesis. You're going to go out and gather real-world data from actual client conversations. And this is what transforms pricing from that stomach-churning guess into a calm, strategic business process. And this little diagnostic tool right here, this is going to be your new best friend. Here's what you do. Track your first 10 serious client conversations. Now, if you're closing over 70% of them, well, congratulations, but you are almost certainly underpriced. People are saying yes way too easily. If you're landing that 40 to 60% sweet spot, you're probably priced just right. And what if you're closing less than 30%? Hey, before you panic and drop your price, first look at your messaging. Are you clearly communicating the incredible value you provide? Because a lot of the time, it's a positioning problem, not a pricing problem. Okay, last but not least, let's get into your retirepreneur playbook. We've got to talk about the unique financial landscape for consultants over 55. Because being a retirepreneur, well, it comes with its own set of opportunities and challenges that you absolutely have to factor into your planning. This is what separates a little side hobby from a truly sustainable second act business. There are really 3 big ones you need to have on your radar. First, Social Security. If you're collecting benefits before your full retirement age, you got to be aware of the earnings test. It can temporarily reduce your benefits if your consulting income gets too high. Second, health insurance. Bridging that gap to Medicare at 65 is no joke. It's likely going to be your single biggest new expense. And third, taxes. Structuring your business as an S-Corp could potentially save you thousands in self-employment taxes. It's a little complex, but basically lets you take some income as a profit distribution instead of all of it as salary. Look, these are not minor details. They are absolutely critical to your long-term financial success. I really want you to let this next part sink in, because honestly, the biggest hurdle for most experienced professionals, it's not the math, it's the mindset. You have spent an entire career building expertise that is rare and it is valuable. Charging a premium rate that reflects that value, that's not being greedy. It's not arrogant. It is simply being accurate about the incredible worth you bring to the table. So what's the big takeaway here? It's simple. Stop guessing and start calculating. Your experience is your most valuable asset, and it is absolutely time to price it accordingly. Now, if you're ready to put all this into action, head over to the Retirepreneur Hub. We've got templates and checklists there to get you started right away. And for more strategies just like this one, make sure you subscribe to Retirepreneur Weekly. Believe me, your most valuable chapter is just beginning.